I've worked with youth for almost half of my life. Most of the youth I've worked with are marginalized African American youth. There are so many programs designed to eliminate barriers for these youth, from literacy, mentoring, job development, arts, sports, the list goes on. Many of these programs are well intentioned, but the reality is that many of them provide a temporary safety net. Very few deal with the root issues that prevent our most valuable assets from becoming mentally, spiritually, and physically whole. Recently, I interviewed some of the youth in the program I currently work with. I wanted to learn about their experiences to see if I can get a better idea of what some of their challenges are, what their hopes are, and how communities can better support their development. First, we meet Trey. Trey is an incredibly bright and down-to-earth young man. I've interacted with him more than any other student in our program. Trey is a king. All right, man. So, tell me a little bit about, like your experience in high school. What was that like?
My experience in high school, it was not good. It was bad. I had a bad image. Like I ain't gonna like try to like blame anything. I made bad choices. I made bad decisions. Of course, I learned from them. But yeah, high school experience, it wasn't good at all. Like, I failed every year. That's because I didn't go to class. It's not like I was stupid or dumb or anything.
Yeah.
I just didn't go to class because I was just too busy hanging with the wrong people. And that's it, really. Like, that's it. My high school, that's all. The only thing I was doing really was smoking, partying, and hanging with chicks. That's it. Like, it wasn't even school. Like, I was just. But at one point in year, one year, like my 11th, 10th grade year, like I learned, like I was just like tired of just living like this, going to school for no reason. I was wasting my time. So, like my 10th, 11th grade year, I realized I just decided, I changed my whole mindset. I changed everything. I just like, nah, I gotta change. Like, I'm wasting time. I'm failing. People just ahead of me. Life is going ahead of me. So I stopped. I think to myself. I just yeah. One day I think I got suspended, and I was like, I got tired of getting suspended. I was just so mad. I got tired of getting suspended. I got tired of just getting in trouble, having this bad name on me. I just got tired of all of that. So one day, like I started fresh. I just changed. Like one day I was just talking to God, but talking to myself. But I was just telling myself, man, I need to change. I need to start wasting time. Blah blah blah. So I decided, just to be on my school stuff. So once they seen that, like they seen me on my school stuff, that's when like okay, they got serious with me. Like they Mr. Johnson told me that when the students ready to learn, the teacher's ready to teach. So they see me ready to learn, and I did my part, they did their part. But at the same time, like when they seen that I was getting serious, that's when they kicked me out.
Did you hear that? As soon as he got serious, that's when he kicked him out. I didn't think much of that statement at the time. It wasn't until after my interview with Trey and I started doing some research that I realized how significant that statement was. According to a report by the U.S. Department of Education that included data from every U.S. school district, public school students of color get more punishment than their white counterparts. Black students are also suspended or expelled at triple the rate of their white peers. 5% of white students were suspended annually compared to 16% of black students. We'll touch on this later. Now, let's meet Cesar.
Just thinking fucked up, like if I didn't give a fuck about the world. That was me. That's how I felt. Like that's how I felt when I was going into Blair. So when I came back from the Dominican Republic and all that stuff, it was sort of like aggression I was holding in. And sooner or later, I would start getting in fights. I would start skipping school, start smoking more, start doing more reckless stuff in the streets. And then I got kicked out of school for fighting. So I feel like that played a big piece in my life. Because now to this day, I'm still over here trying to get back in school.
How old are you when that happened, when you got kicked out?
I was 17. Literally, oh my God, it was crazy. Literally the year I was about to turn 18, I get kicked out for the fight, right? And when that happens, all hell breaks loose. Like, I get locked up. To the dudes I thought were my friends weren't my friends. They snitched on me. So it was just adding on, and then I realized who was there for me. Like, I realized who was always there for me, which was my family and my loved ones. So when I turned 18 while I was getting locked up. Like, I was 17, but I got locked up the week of my birthday. And I turned 18 in jail. On my 18th birthday, I spent that in jail. Well, yeah, it was. I mean, it is what it is. So it was more like, to my mindset, it was like, damn, what the fuck am I turning 18 in jail for?
For the record, Cesar is Black Hispanic. Not like it matters, because when you see him, you think black. The real point is that Cesar got locked up for fighting. Consider this. Though 16% of America's public school students are black, they represent 27% of students referred by schools to law enforcement and 31% of students who are arrested for offenses committed in school. That's 31%. This disparity shouldn't be too alarming when we consider the disproportionate rate of blacks in prison when compared to the percentage of blacks in the U.S. You might be familiar with the stat, but I'll share with you just in case you forgot. Blacks make up 13% of the U.S. population, but make up 35% of the population in prisons. Think about that for a second. Do you see the similarities? 16% of the population in schools, 13% of the population in the U.S., 31% arrested for offenses committed in school, 35% of the prison population. This sounds all too much like the school to prison pipeline. What is that? I am glad you asked. The United States school to prison pipeline is a metaphor used to describe the increasing patterns of contact students have with the juvenile and adult criminal justice systems as a result of the recent practices implemented by educational institutions, specifically zero tolerance policies and the use of police officers in school. The metaphor is currently a hot topic of debate and discussion surrounding educational disciplinary policies as media coverage of youth violence and mass incarceration has grown over the past decade or so. Some people see schools as factories that develop cogs that keep the American economic machine running. But for black youth, schools are more like factories that keep the penitentiary system running, which also directly helps keep the American economic machine running as well. Do not get it twisted. Prisons provide slave labor for many American corporations.
There's this phrase that you might hear in the news sometimes, the school-to-prison pipeline. It's shorthand for how schools are funneling students, especially black students, into the criminal justice system. It started in the 90s when schools responded to fears about crime with zero-tolerance policies, which mandated suspensions and expulsions for certain violations. They also cracked down on little things like talking back or uniform violations. The hope was that it would keep bigger problems from bubbling up. But as a result, out-of-school suspensions have doubled since the 1970s, and they keep increasing even though juvenile crime rates have now been dropping for years. Around the same time, the number of police officers stationed full-time inside schools has increased by a third between 1997 and 2007. Ostensibly, they were there to prevent mass school shootings like the one at Columbine, but they end up being a way for schools to basically outsource discipline to the police. Schools with officers have 5 times as many arrests for disorderly conduct as schools without them. Sometimes the results are shocking. But the less visible effect is that schools are feeding the racial disparities in the criminal justice system. Consider the fact that schools are more likely to have an officer on their campus if the student population is more than 50% black. You might assume that that's because there's more crime at these schools, but although students at police schools are more likely to be arrested, they're not actually more likely to be charged in court for weapons, drugs, alcohol, or assault, at least according to one study. During the 2010-2011 school year, 1 in 6 public school students in the US were black, but they accounted for 1 in 3 arrests at school. Same goes for other forms of school discipline. Black students are suspended or expelled 3 times more frequently than white students. It actually begins in preschool. 18% of preschoolers are black. But of all preschoolers suspended more than once, 48% are black. Studies show that differences in behavior can't fully account for these disparities. Black students and white students are sent to the principal's office at similar rates. But black students are more likely to end up with a serious punishment. One study found that white students are more likely to be suspended for provable offenses like smoking or vandalism. Black students are more likely to be suspended for subjective offenses like talking back or insubordination. Students who are suspended in school are more likely to later drop out or get arrested.
Mark's trouble started when he was a little younger than Cesar and Trey. What I want to do is just have you kind of reflect and think about, you can go as far back as middle school, and then we're going to work our way up. And I just want you to think about what prevented you from successfully graduating high school, okay? So my first question for you is, what kind of student were you, or when would you say you were a good student? When do you remember being a good student?
Elementary school.
Okay. Describe, like, what your grades, what do they look like?
My grades was looking like, first I didn't really get A's, just B's and C's.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why do you feel like you were successful in elementary school?
Cause I wasn't making trouble and I was doing my work.
Okay.
Yeah, I was. But then, when I got in 6th grade, because my elementary school had 6th grade, but when I hit 6th grade, I think I started getting in trouble. That was the first time I got suspended.
What'd you get suspended for?
What did we get suspended? I don't remember. It was something dumb. We was just laughing at my minds, because back then, little baby jokes since my elementary school. Because my man looked like his little, because he was like, look, Indian, so we used to thought he was a terrorist. Little baby joke.
Yeah.
But the teacher was like, that's serious and stuff like that. And we said that he was gonna bomb the school. But now they take that serious, way serious. So yeah, I see why they was trying.
How long were you suspended for?
3 days.
3 days?
The next, I had to come back with my mom. She had to shadow me. Yeah.
So how many people besides you got suspended?
It was just the people that was involved, just me and my 2 other men.
Okay. And all of you had a part to play in making fun of him?
Yeah, and then we all got suspended.
What race were your 2 other men?
Huh?
What race were they, your 2 other people?
Oh, they African American, just
Both
like me.
African American. Okay. When Mark got to high school, he got expelled for fighting. Now, it's easy to blame Mark for his choices. I know I did. Here's the thing. Adolescence should be a time when kids can learn, make mistakes, and experience the best the world has to offer. These are the formative years. But for far too many of our young black kids, the adolescence is marked by mistreatment and abuse. According to the Huffington Post, disparities begin as early as preschool. Black students make up 18% of preschool enrollment, but they comprise 48% of preschool students receiving more than one suspension. White students, representing 43% of preschool students, only receive 26% of suspensions more than once. Preschool. Our children are at a disadvantage from birth. This disadvantage follows them all the way to adulthood. Their mistreatment leads to further challenges that fulfills the purpose of any system, to systematize. The Annie Casey Foundation released a report that in essence validates this. The report stated, in addition to the harsh realities of being born into poverty in an unstable family environment, barriers emerge late in their school career, including disciplinary policies that are too harsh and unconstructive. These policies often trap them in the juvenile justice system, racial profiling by police, and disproportionate arrest of people of color, more severe sentencing for the same offenses, and a greater likelihood that young people of color will be tried as adults and incarcerated in prison than their white counterparts for the same conduct. There is a common theme here. Schools are not built to support or develop black youth. Yet, we continue to send our children into these institutions and continue to allow our tax dollars to fund these institutions. So, what are the solutions? I've been working on this episode for literally months. At first, I had in my mind what I believe to be the solution to this problem, a stronger peer network. Trey, Cesar, and Mark both mentioned how their peers were negative influences on them. So it seemed like the simple solution, just connect them to more positive peer networks. While that might be an appropriate solution, that's simply a band-aid. Their peers are also victims of a faulty system, and they too should benefit from whatever solution we come up with. Next, I thought about homeschooling. But how realistic is it to have every black family homeschool their kids when many of their parents do not have the resources and or the capacity to properly educate their kids? Their parents were also victims of the same faulty system. Okay, so what if we create a massive homeschool network? Or better yet, what if we create our own schools? Seems like a reasonable solution, right? But here's the thing. If I'm drowning at sea, you can throw me a life jacket so I can at least avoid drowning, but I'm still stuck at sea. Eventually, the life jacket will deflate, or there are other dangers in the water that will eventually take me out. If you really want to help me, the obvious solution is to physically get me out the water. You must completely change my conditions and get me out of the environment that is an immediate threat to me. Public schools are dysfunctional not because public schools themselves are dysfunctional. Public schools are dysfunctional because they are floating in the culture of dysfunction. The condition of this culture we are floating in as African people are bad. Nothing we do will matter until we change the conditions. Otherwise, whatever we built, no matter how well intentioned it may be, will eventually fall. History shows this to be true. W. Du Bois founded the NAACP decades ago, and the organization has arguably fallen away from its original mission and purpose. The Black Panther Party was one of the catalysts for the Black Power movement, but our organization has been decimated and some of the leaders have been silenced and forgotten. Black Wall Street was sacrificed in the fires of Western imperialism. So I don't offer you any concrete solutions because greater people have come before me and have tried and have been unsuccessful. What I offer is a diagnosis of what is taking place, testimony from those who it's directly affecting, and an imploration to get involved in figuring out the solutions. Our future depends on it. I asked Trey, Cesar, and Mark to tell me what they hope their future selves would say to them now if their future selves could travel back in time. I'll leave you with those hopes. If any of their hopes are to come to reality, we must change the conditions.
47-year-old Mark changed, like if he's successful and all that, I dab him up. Right now, I look at him, I dab him up, I can't wait to be 47. Looking like a bag of money, but other than that, I'm hoping he's telling me like what he did to be all that, like successful and have that bag of money. He gonna tell me probably 47-year-old Mark probably went through something to be through that, like, how should I say, like right now, something that I'm not doing right now, he probably did that to be that person. So he's gonna tell me like what to do, like start changing up to be like, so I can be successful at an earlier age.
So if you were just to take a guess on what that would be, potentially that he would have done, what would you guess that would be?
Right, so I still don't get, right now I still be in trouble like that. He probably gonna tell me find the right girl first of all. That's gonna tell me to stay out the streets, so I, like, be with her all the time, like she's the right one for you type stuff. Yeah, I'm just stay out the street. I know he's gonna tell me to stay out the street.
What I hope he tells me, if the 64-year-old me came back to see me right now, I just hope he tells me like you did the right thing, man. You changed your ways and you stayed with God and He was blessed. And like that I did what was on my mind. That like I truly did it divinely with my heart, mind, and soul, and that I was just happy at the end of the day with life. I think that's the best thing I would love to hear from my future self. Like, yeah, bro, you did the right thing, changing your ways and stuff like that. Cause I did, man. I feel like I was a wild-minded little kid for no reason. Like, but that's a lot of kids nowadays. Like, probably even worse. Because there's no real guidance, there's no real formality, there's no stability. Nowadays, you got single mothers working all day and having their kids getting raised by the streets. So that's the things I went through that I felt like if I would have had more role models and more guidance, I probably would have got through. But besides that, I just thank God for letting me go through what I went through and embracing me to be the man He wants me to be, for real.
I would hope he would say, you trying your best. I understand the struggle. Like, I would just say, like he know that I'm trying my best. He know that I don't want to be a negative. I don't want to leave a negative legacy. I don't want to leave a negative name on my name. Like, I just don't want to leave nothing negative, no type of dirt on my name. So I would just say, like, I know you trying, and I know you're going to get there, honestly. I know you're going to make it. That's what I want to say. I know you're going to get there. Just stay focused, keep your head up, and just staying focused, honestly. That's my main problem, my main thing. Staying focused. Like, if I stay focused, then everything else will fall in hand. Everything else will fall in place. But I just got to stay focused. Can't let nothing distract me. I can't get distracted at all. Like, I got to stay focused. So, yeah, I would just say, stay focused, and you're going to make it. Yeah.
That 50-year-old you sounds like a very wise man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Sounds like a very wise dude.
Yeah.
That's what's up, man. Thank you, Trey.
No problem,
I appreciate you doing that, man.
Bujulu kasi kanko malede umasaya temogo tuye sekola. Bajalo kasi kanko malede umasaya temogo tuye sekola. Nesaya tumbe mato ye sekola, nesaya tumbe mato wari bolo nela bajalo tumte dunyato. Bajalo kasi kanko malide umasaya temogo tuye sekola. Bajalo kasi kanko malide umasaya temogo tuye sekola. Ela rabulonda yele unye saya temogo tuye sekola. Nesaya tumbe mato sekola, nesaya tumbe mato toyila, nela bajalo tunte dunyato. Ela rabulonda yele aunye saya temogo tuye sekola. La rabulonda yele aunye saya temogo tuye sekola. Nesaya tumbe mato ye sekola, nesaya tumbe mato toyila, enela bajalo tunte dunyato. Ela rabulonda yele aunye saya temogo tuye sekola. Ela rabulonda yele aunye saya temogo tuye sekola. Bajalo kasi kanko malide umasaya temogo tuye sekola. Nesaya tumbe mato sekola, nesaya tumbe mato toyila, nela bajalo tunte dunyato. Ebajalo kasi kanko malide umasaya temogo tuye sekola.